All righty. Let's see. Hi, everyone. For those of you joining us, we'll give it a few minutes. I know it's lunchtime, so people are joining us from other meetings, jumping on, grabbing lunch. So we'll give it a minute or two before we kick it off. Feel free to chat in where you're from, how your Wednesday is going. We want to hear from you. We are so excited you are here. And for those of you who are just jumping in, I just gave a little spiel. We're going to kick it off in about a minute, just letting people join us, grab their lunch, run to the restroom real quickly, and then we'll jump right in. All righty. Well, thank you to everybody who is joining us today. Hi, I'm Kelsey DuPont. You've probably seen me on a few webinars in the past few months. I am here with Daxco. So excited you've joined us for our engagement strategy webinar today, focusing on how we can prepare your marketing strategy for fall programs. We're going to talk through some tactics, some messaging ideas, and I'm really excited because we have Amy Huempfner here. You can see her on your screen right above or below me. She's the marketing director at the YMCA of the Chippewa Valley. Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, yes, no problem.
Go
ahead.
Before we jump in, I am just going to do a few housekeeping things. So all participants have been muted just to cut down on background noise, but we do want you to be super engaged, chat in. Any questions you have, any thoughts, if you have questions for myself or for Amy, we are here to answer that. And then we will also have some time at the end of today's webinar to also answer any questions. But with that, I am going to stop sharing my screen, open it up to Amy and myself, and kick it off. So Amy, I'm going to actually pass it over to you. If you could just share a little bit about yourself and how you got to the Y and your Y story.
Sure. So like Kelsey said, my name is Amy Huempfner, and I'm the Association Marketing Director for the YMCA of the Chippewa Valley. We're located in eastern Wisconsin. We have about 5 branches focusing on sports, tennis, and then some membership as well. I started working at the Y part-time in the marketing and development office, just kind of helping out the marketing director at the time. Then as most Y staff go through, they say, oh, you have a niche for this, let's get you into that as well. So I dabbled in youth programming for a little bit. And then our Y actually joined an association. So we were a separate independent Y and became an association about 2.5 years ago. And at that point, I was then promoted to the association marketing director. So it's been an interesting ride, but I've enjoyed every minute of it so far. So.
Amazing. Well, we're very thankful that you're here joining us today. I think everyone who is tuning in is excited to hear what you and your team is up to. Obviously, we are focusing today on marketing plans. This is a funky year transitioning out of 2020 and everything that brought. And so with that, I want to ask you, obviously last year and this year, we've been forced to get very creative with our marketing approach. And I wanted to pick your brain and see what some of the marketing priorities your team has, your organization is, that might be different from last year, whether that's membership, programs, any new tactics you're thinking of. We'd love to hear it.
Sure. So we've really focused on our membership programs and community impact. So for membership, we really focused on strengthening our member experience. So just really trying to make people who are already part of the Y appreciate it more or get connected in more ways. So we've started this from the very beginning of just revamping our cause-driven tours and letting those folks know who are thinking of joining everything that the Y has to offer and making it really mission-based. We've also reevaluated a lot of our policies throughout the facilities to just make sure we're serving all the ages appropriately. We also recently launched a new association website so that our members and non-members would be able to easily find all of our program information, membership information, really a one-stop shop on our website. We also looked at simple things like, what's the process of when someone is joining? How easy is it for them to join the Y? Or are we setting up barriers immediately with having them bring in certain paperwork or having them fill out things that maybe they aren't comfortable with? Is it taking too much time? So we looked at that process and how to make it easier. But then we also looked at the other end and the cancel process. Are we making that too easy? Many times it's just, here's the piece of paper, sign it, we're done. So we've actually recently put into place a procedure where they now have to look at the other options that we have. Like, why are you canceling? Here's our membership for all opportunities. Did you hear about our impact membership opportunity as well before canceling and leaving the Y? So really trying to make sure they know everything that we have to offer. We also focused on membership retention. So we're looking at, continuing to build those relationships with the folks that are already with us. So one of the ways that we did that was just looking at our facility. We had to cut back on a lot of different programming and a lot of things were scaled back. So we thought, how can we repurpose some of these rooms to serve the members that are already coming in? And two things that we did, we converted a few of the rooms into private fitness studios. So there's TVs where folks can go in and access our virtual content that we offer, or they can stream from YouTube or whatever else they would like to do. And we also came up with some personal training studios as well, and then offered small group training outside of our usual fitness classes. And then in addition to that, we also have a reservation system now. So that was to help folks feel comfortable coming in, like the lap swimmers, maybe they aren't comfortable coming in when the pool is going to be full. So if they see a time when the time is down or the reservations are down, maybe they're more comfortable coming in. So those have all gone over really positively. And then, like I previously mentioned, we have our mission-based impact membership, which is brand new to the Y. So we took away our hold option, or I guess this is our new hold option. Before, folks could just hold for free, but now we're letting them hold for 5 consecutive months for $10 a month. And it's called an impact membership, where we're telling them that you're still supporting the Y, you're still supporting our mission. We'll even give you access to our virtual content during this time, just not an actual facility, but trying to make our facility seem more impactful and mission-based than just, a one-stop shop for your fitness. So that's kind of what we're doing for membership. And then with programming, we obviously had to look at how can we safely provide programming for everyone, right? Programming and fitness opportunities. So we looked at what we currently we're offering and what we had stopped offering, and then what new things could we also offer that would help benefit the membership. One of the unique things that came up during this time was virtual programming. So we started on the Virtual Y website, and so we offer live and on-demand classes and at-home activities. We chose to go this route to show that our staff are the experts and they have all of the knowledge in all of these different avenues, right? So every department is actually required to contribute content to the Virtual Y site on a monthly basis. We do that in hopes that somebody going in, and our members are the only ones who have access to this, but we're hoping that our members that go in and see these different directors or see these different programs that they might not have known we offered at the Y, when they're all of a sudden comfortable coming back to a facility, hopefully soon, they would feel comfortable already because they've seen that certain director or that instructor. And then when they're ready to participate, we hope that they choose the Y and are ready to do that. So, and then the last thing was your community impact. So we really dove into the Strong Life challenges that Cincinnati offered. I'm not sure if folks on the call are familiar with that or not, but it was a challenge that we offered to the community for free. So we really focused on how do we go beyond our walls and make an impact in our community not just for the people that walk through our door, but for everyone. So that has been, we had huge responses for those challenges. A lot of non-members participated, and it was a great way to get non-members through the door.
That's that's amazing. I mean, honestly, everything you just said, I feel like everyone on the call can resonate in some way. The virtual aspect, showcasing that their why, or even J, for those of you tuning in, are is literally more than just a gym, and it can be so impactful during these times. Obviously, your priorities have shifted. We heard it as an organization as a whole, but in terms of marketing, from last year or even right before the pandemic hit to now, what you and your team are doing in terms of your marketing strategy and planning, how has that altered?
Yeah, well, I think as many people on this call, we had a plan for 2020 and it went out the door very quickly. And then it
Yep.
was, there was no plan then. It was just like, how do we go day to day to make this work and get the messages out and the proper communication? So thankfully for 2021, at least in our community, we're starting to see the light a little bit at the end of the tunnel here. Our membership is coming back. Our programs are full again. So we are able to focus on our messaging and our strategy again, which is really nice. Um, but our whole focus of our messaging has changed. Even prior to the pandemic, we were trying to make that shift from transactional communication to transformational, but much of it turned back to transactional when the pandemic hit because it needed to be. But now we're back to moving towards transformational messaging and communication. Um, so we're looking at, in addition to that, how we're doing things. So we now have tools in place that are allowing us to be proactive instead of reactive for our departments. So simply just knowing where everything is at all of the time for enrollment and offerings. We have tools now that we can look at that on a daily basis with a short amount of time and be able to see, okay, these programs need help, these ones don't, which we didn't necessarily have those tools prior. We also are being proactive, or so we also are trying to convince someone that the Y is the best choice for fitness and programming. But now we're also trying to prove to them that this is also the safest facility, the cleanest facility, and that your health matters now more than ever. So trying to just transform that messaging into, we aren't just that gym with the pool and the basketball court, but we offer all of these programs that can really help better you 100% as a whole person. And then we also are able to provide a community to our members, but it just looks different than what it did before the pandemic. So a lot of people join the Y because it is a community and they like engaging with others and having that coffee after class. A lot of that was gone. Our lobby spaces were cleared out. The coffee was gone. Classes were limited or had gone virtual. But at our facilities, things are starting to come back. So even though it's not the same as before the pandemic, we still have the opportunities and are looking for more opportunities to provide folks with a community through Zoom classes or social gatherings at a park that are distanced. And then just even those simple conversations with our YMCA staff and making sure that those experiences are always positive on the staff end as well.
Totally. That makes sense. And I think it's interesting to hear. I think we've all had in our heads the transactional, transformational, transactional, like where is that balance? And you touched on messaging a bit, and I want to dig a little deeper into more of the strategy in terms of campaigns you might be running and thinking through. Like who when it comes to planning ahead for the fall, right? Who are you really targeting? What's your team looking at? What are those messages to get folks back in the door to trust that the space is safe, like you mentioned, that it is a great place for if it's after school sports or for childcare during the day, or even just to garner that trust with adults to come back in through the doors. Like what's your tactics that you and your team are working through right now to plan for the fall?
Sure. So we're really targeting three key groups. So one is our current members. Obviously, they're already comfortable walking through the door or participating in our programs. They've stuck with us through their pandemic. So we give them priority registration for a lot of our programs, which they love that, especially for the progressive programs that don't have, or because we have very limited enrollment right now, right? So giving them that priority registration is great. And then in addition to that, we are looking at those past program participants, right? So for depends on the program, but we look back like 2 to 3 years to see, what were these kids involved in, or these participants involved in, and what could they be involved in now? So we have a lot of different age groups that we focus on because our facilities, we have membership facilities, but then we also have specialty facilities that focus on more like sports skills with, big turfs and indoor rinks and all of that sort of stuff. So finding those kids that were in programs uh, when they were younger, maybe at one of our membership facilities, and then getting them over to our sports center to try to get them engaged in more programming at a later age. And then the last key group that we're really targeting is anyone who's terminated from March 2020 to March 2021. So that's, the heart of the pandemic right there. Trying to get those folks to say, you were with us before, we closed down a bunch of stuff, many things were taken away, but hey, now things are starting to come back. We're offering programs, our classes are back. Come back in the door, and even if it's just for a tour, come on in and see what's going on. Um, so those are kind of the demographics that we're looking at targeting there. As far as messaging, we're lucky enough that we're actually in the middle of a survey for our membership and community to kind of see where we're at with everything. We haven't gotten those results yet, but we get them next week. So that might change our messaging a little bit. But as for right now, we have a couple taglines that we're going to be using. Just get up, get out, and get into the why. And then and then also a message of it's been a while to those term members. Um, just saying, a lot has changed, and even like we would like to say that we are even better than when we had to close our doors last March. So we have done improvements in our facilities. We have done improvements in our programming. We've all together tried to make enough improvements that we're better now than we were before the pandemic. So we're also we haven't had a joiners fee in a long time. We took that away right when we opened back up again, just eliminating that barrier to join, and we don't have plans to bring that back at this time. And then the other funny thing is that we suspended our group exercise classes for just 1 week at the Y. And what was funny is there's still people today, like this was back in, May of last year, and there's still people who are regular group exercise folks who don't know that classes are back up. And that's because they aren't, reading our emails or aren't on Facebook. So trying to get creative with how we communicate with all of them, to make sure that every age group knows that, these things are back and the Y is doing great. So obviously the email campaigns are a great way to communicate with folks, but junk mail is just overwhelming. I feel like these
Totally.
days. Yeah.
100%. And everybody is so, on their emails all the time. So they're not even looking at it, and it makes total sense. I think you bring up a really good point though. There's so many, you just listed a three main groups that you're trying to target. And with that, there's many different age groups, there's different demographics, and it's like, how do you reach those folks? And I'm curious because I think a lot of people on this call can probably relate that a lot of people are like most likely your Y, and those who are tuning in are operating on a slimmer staff. And with that, what are the tactics you're using to make sure that your message is being reached? Like what avenues are you doing to ensure that those demographics are hearing your message, your new taglines, making sure that people get back through the door when your staff is already so slammed with other things going on? So what are you guys up to?
Yeah, so I mean, it's really tricky, right? Because I would love to say that I had support in my department to be able to go and do all of this stuff and hang these posters and whatever to get the message out everywhere and anywhere for folks to see. Unfortunately, I'm a one-man team right now, and I have been, since the pandemic hit. So it does limit what we can do, but what we focus on is really trying to be as diverse as possible. So trying to get on as many platforms as we can maintain and hope that that serves most ages. So obviously you're going to be on your social media and you're going to do your emails and you're going to have a good website that is engaging for folks, and you can easily spread messages through there. um, but what we found was, I know a lot of Ys go back and forth on whether they should do program brochures or not. And our Y is very much in that same back and forth until we realized when we didn't do one at the beginning of the pandemic, when we were able to open up and offer programming again, that folks, they didn't want to go and scroll through the entire website to try to find what was happening and what wasn't. So we stopped printing our program brochure as a booklet. But what we did was we made an online version of the program brochure. And then we took the active links in Daxco with the tags. We took those tag links and inserted them into the program brochure so that it's a completely active, interactive form. And when somebody sees parent-child swim lessons, they can click that register now, and it's going to take them to that specific registration page in Daxco. So that's been really streamlined there, because before this would just be printed, so you couldn't have anything active in it. So that's been a really nice switch. But then again, you're saying to these folks, then go on our website, go on our website. So what we do in addition to that is go through the brochure and pull out specific program flyers as well for what's happening. So we take those and then we rack them in our lobbies so that when mom comes up and says, I'm interested in gymnastics for my 3-year-old, what can she do? Our staff aren't saying, oh, well, go to our website and look at this page on there. It's, oh, well, here's a flyer, go ahead and take a look and you can see everything for gymnastics that we have to offer. There's a lot of back and forth with, trying to eliminate paper. But I guess at our facilities, we feel that if you can send them home with that information, like we only print like 5 or 10 of these flyers at a time. So we are trying to, limit the amount of paper we have, but being able to send them home with this information versus saying, well, go to our website, look on Facebook. We think that's just overall a better member experience for them to take that with them. So.
That's cool. That's interesting. And I would love to hear from everyone tuning in any innovative ways you're doing to make sure that your message is reaching your audience, your different demographics. So feel free to chat that in. I'd love to hear. Amy, to kind of bring this full circle, are there any, like similar to the question before, are there any tools that you're using that's really helped your team? Well, I guess you, since you're a one-woman show right now, make sure that your marketing efforts are doing the best they can right now with everything going on.
Yeah, well, so we obviously have different tools that we use in our department. Daxco Engage and Daxco Texting and Daxco mobile app. Those are 3 huge things that we're able to use on a daily basis for our folks. In addition to that, we are on that virtual Y. So that's been a very interesting tool that we need to produce a lot for, but then being able to put that out for our membership has been really positive. We also are on that Open Y website, which has been a nice switch from what we had previously to kind of streamline things. But then we also have a project management tool, which is new to us. We always had issues with folks just getting information to us in a timely manner, or saying that, here's a project, I need this done tomorrow. And that just doesn't work well in today's world. So we've put in place some different tools and ways for them to submit their marketing content to us. And then we manage that on the back end to really prioritize, because it just being me and having 5 facilities to support, it gets a little overwhelming in my email inbox sometimes. Um, and then another tool we're using is, GroupX Pro for those reservations. Otherwise, as far as just seeing how we're doing on things, the reporting in Engage is great. So we look and make sure that what we're sending out is actually being read or being, effective. And then also just, Google Analytics for our website and making sure that our pages are acting the way that they should and they're getting viewed the way that they should. Um, and also when we're on our Facebook, we're looking at those insights all of the time as well to make sure that we're posting at the proper times and that we're reaching as many folks as we can. So.
You are definitely not busy, I would say, during these times. I would love to pick your brain on past campaigns that you saw were successful, that you potentially used Engage with to help your time management out. Any stats that you found or any successes that hopefully you'll be utilizing this fall as you prepare. Again, I know last year was crazy, but I would love to hear how that's been.
Yeah, well, I think my favorite thing about about Engage and being able to use it for our program registration is, we send out that general email to our membership saying, our program brochure is available, or here's all of our information for our upcoming session. But what I love is then after the fact, we have kind of like 3 different registration dates. So we have a progressive registration date, a non-progressive registration date, and then in that progressive, swim lessons and gymnastics kind of can do their own thing. So that can be confusing to membership because when they go and they look at the brochure, they're like, well, why is this open and this isn't open? But what we do is then go into the Engage and we create groups that are people that have participated in the past, right? So the people that were enrolled in, let's say the last year they were enrolled in gymnastics classes, but they haven't enrolled in anything yet for this coming session. So we then will create an email campaign that has like 2 or 3 emails spaced a couple of days apart. The first one going out on the day that their registration can open. And again, member and non-member are different registration dates. So we'll have different groups for members versus non-members. But just sending out that email that says, hey, like it's open for you now. Here's all your information. Go ahead and get registered. And then a couple of days later, that reminder email of, hey, we still see that you haven't registered. There's still room in the pool for swim lessons or whatever. And then getting people connected in that way. So that I think is really fun to watch the registration numbers go up once our emails go out. But yeah, Engage is definitely very helpful in being able to target those specific program participants. And then when we have new programs as well, like we introduce, some new basketball skills program, we can take all those folks that did basketball as kids, or for the younger kids that were in the programs, or just folks that are within a certain age demographic as well. So being able to create those groups is key if you can target it down enough to be effective and you're not just sending mass emails all of the time to everyone. So.
Totally. And speaking of mass emails, we do have a question from an audience member. Do you think your members are getting email fatigue? Do you have any recommendations for getting in front of members? I think we both just touched on it, how we can get a ton of emails. So wondering what you're doing to make sure that we somewhat touched on it with the messaging and making sure that's reached. But yeah, how are you making sure that your members aren't getting super fatigued by emails?
Right. So we do a monthly newsletter for email. But then other than that, we used to do, or the old marketing director used to do 2 e-blasts a week that were just flyers of everything happening at the Y. And it was too much, right? And it didn't matter to everyone. These programs they weren't important to every person. So I think using your tool of the groups and really narrowing down so that this individual of this age who already has participated in basketball is now seeing that we're offering summer basketball leagues, and that when that person opens that email and sees that it's relevant to them, I don't feel like there's as much fatigue then when it's relevant. When it's not relevant, like if it's a 20-year-old male who loves basketball, but he's receiving yoga information, that I could see not sitting well with him and him maybe not opening those Y emails in the future. But if he sees a basketball league that now he could be part of, that's going to get him excited.
Totally. And an open rate is just one way of tracking your success. We do have another question. How do you prove out the success of your campaigns to your leaders? What are you measuring? And I guess how are you measuring that too? Whether it is with Engage, but what are the main metrics that you are reporting on for your marketing success?
Sure. So there is that report in Daxco Operations for Daxco Engage that you can see how many people actually joined the program from that initiative. I guess, Kelsey, if I'm saying this wrong, you can correct
No,
me.
you're doing great.
But I love going in and looking at that report because then I can see the actual dollar amounts that this single email made for this specific program. So I think marketing is the hardest thing well, not the hardest, but it's one of the harder things to track and say, hey, look, this Facebook post caused 5 families to join gymnastics. Like, that's not necessarily something that we can track, right? So I like that with this Engage report, you can see the actual kids who signed up or the program participants who signed up for this, and then translate that over to leadership. And then just general, we have folks say that this program is down in enrollment. We need to boost up the numbers. So then I'll do extra marketing on it for other ways other than just Facebook or social media, but through email. Or sorry, other than just through email, but doing Facebook and different social media tactics. We have some different places at the Y where we can post information as well. So then we just kind of track registration to see what has it actually gone up since we started doing these things. If it was low before, we're going to say that it wasn't getting any attention. So the efforts that we're putting in for our department are one of the main reasons that we now have numbers in that program. So
Lots of different tactics, yes. And for those of you, so what Amy was speaking towards was the conversion analytics from Daxco Engage email. So that is what she was referencing in terms of tracking success. We do have another question, Amy. Have you seen an increase in online registration? Most of our registrations historically have happened in person at the front desk for our sports leagues and childcare programs. We are exploring doing online joins and operations. How has this impacted your success?
yeah, so like I said, we have 2 membership branches, and one allows for in-person or via phone or online registration. The other facility only allows for online registration. So we are very much into get people onto the website or into the brochure, get them clicking these links and get them registered online. So we've had huge success with this. It opens up the time that our member service desks can provide to the people that are actually in front of them. We found that on days when registration was opening, they were on the phone from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. and not able to have those meaningful interactions with our members. So we did it to improve that experience, but then also we find that most people are able to figure out how to get to the link to register. So the being able to use the links in Daxco for the tags is really helpful. So we're not saying, just go to the website and then go to the menu bar and click this and whatever. In these emails, we can send them direct links to the specific programs that they might be interested in. And then on the website as well, when they click that button, it takes them directly to that parent-child swim class, not every single swim class that we have to offer. So
Right.
just being strategic about where you're sending folks, and then making sure that you've set it up correctly on your end to be able to have that be a positive experience for them and not frustrating. So
Totally. That makes sense. Yeah, I think websites are such a key part of every organization, every business, and making sure that it is as streamlined and efficient for people to understand and get to what they need is huge. Um, we do have another question here. And again, if you guys have questions, feel free to chat them in. I am taking pulse on all of them. So we still have some time. So Amy, we've seen programs and childcare registrations have been a big source of revenue recovery. Have you all seen an increase in net new registrants? How are you reaching people not already in your CRM?
yeah, so one of the ways that we really reached new people was by doing, how I previously mentioned, we did a community-wide challenge, a 6-week free challenge. With this, so we've done 2 of them this, well, not this year. We did one in the spring and then one last fall. And we had 1,500 people join our first one, and over 2/3 of those folks were non-members. And then
Oh,
so what was interesting about that is that the registration process for a program, in the Exco can be kind of confusing if you're a non-member. So what we did was we sent folks to a jot form and we had them fill out all of their information, and we had our staff then register them and make sure that their information in Exco was there and correct. So having them go through this jot form tool, it provided, and having so many folks that were non-members join this program, we saw so much data was incorrect on so many of these people, right? Their addresses were wrong. So there goes, why are we sending them a mailer if their address is wrong or their email isn't correct? So there was a lot of cleanup that we were able to do on these non-members. But then in addition to that, it touched a whole new demographic of people that were never connected to the Y before, and we would add them in to our CRM then, and now we have the ability to communicate with them about everything happening at the Y. We know that these people are interested or engaged in some type of health, right? Because they joined a challenge for their health.
right.
So we know that they're interested and active. So that's an interesting group to be able to then pull and say, let's email them about either another upcoming program, or let's find people who have kids who haven't been part of anything before and reach them. So doing that community-wide challenge, it was a lot of work, but it has huge benefits to our association so far. So
Do you have any plans for the fall or for winter or even summer? I know it's kind of a blur this whole year, but for another community-wide challenge that you're working through that you could shed some insight on?
yeah, so like I said, we're part of like the Strong Life that's hosted from Cincinnati. So they're the ones who started all this. So don't give me any credit for this being a brainchild of mine. But we jumped on full force with them, and so we just did the Reset Challenge, which was concluded in March, I believe. And then we will be doing a 3-week summer challenge that focuses on families and like the best summers that they can have, right? And what the Y can do to help them have their best summer, whether that be coming in and using the pool or just having, nature-led hikes out at some of your parks or something like that.
Cool.
And then come fall, I think it'll be probably September or October, we'll do another 6-week challenge that's free for members and non-members to get connected to the Y. And when we do these challenges, I don't know if I mentioned this, but we give the members 3 buddy passes to use during these challenges. So when you come in right now, things look a lot different than they used to before the pandemic. So we say that, or our thinking is that if you come in with a member who already knows how things have changed, your experience is going to be more positive because you're going to know that you have to wear a mask to your machine. You're going to know that you can't use this certain thing, or, just they already know the lay of the land. So
Right.
we're hoping that that helps promote that non-member having a good experience. And then for non-members who participate in these challenges, we offer them 3 just day passes. So we aren't selling day passes, or we weren't during the last challenge. So if somebody was signing up for this, they would actually get a day pass for free, be able to come in and experience the Y. And then we had our member service teams prepared with, information and any questions, and saying, because they would have to go up and redeem the pass in person, right? So they now know that this person is a non-member participating in this program. So what else can we do to sell them on the Y and get them to become a member down the road? So
That's awesome. You guys are definitely busy. It looks like those are all of our questions. For anybody who has any others, please chat them in. Amy, I do have a question for you. What are you most excited about for the fall, for your marketing plans? Anything new or innovative that you're going to try out with this year? Just any concluding remarks of what you're most excited for.
yeah, I think the answer to that is simple, just a little bit more normalcy, right? Everything has been so shut down, and we haven't been able to offer things like we used to. It's been really kind of sad almost in the marketing world to be able to say, like the Y is great because we reach out so far into the community. We can provide assistance and programs for those who can't afford it. And our reach is so large. And then when we had to shut down and take those things away, like we had to suspend the program financial assistance, or at least make it was not offered to everybody anymore. And taking away those little perks that make the Y so special was really sad to see happen.
Yeah.
So moving into fall, being able to offer full force our programs, we are not holding back at all. Our spring and summer registrations are already way past what we expected they would be. So we're really happy
That's
with that.
amazing.
Yeah, so we're just hoping that, fall will be even busier, safely
Yep.
busier. But just bringing back that normalcy, having those happy families and those happy kids and those active older adults who've been secluded for a year, having them back in our facilities, socializing again, learning to swim again, and having, just fun at our facilities is going to be
Yeah.
just so enlightening and a great thing to be able to see happen again. So
I'm excited to hear how it goes. You'll definitely have to keep me posted. If there are no other questions, I want to say thank you so much to Amy for joining us and answering questions and diving into what her and her organization are up to this fall. We will be sending out this recording afterwards. We'll also have a blog takeaway and some key fun takeaways as well from this conversation. So keep an eye out. And we're excited to have you all join us for our next engagement strategy webinar that will be happening in June. But if there are no other questions, I will let you all have time back in your day, grab some lunch. Amy, any other words you'd like to say?
no, just if anyone has any, questions after the fact, they can definitely email me. Kelsey, I don't know if you can give them my email address, but I'm more than
Sure.
happy to help or expand on anything that I talked about today. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and we will talk soon. Bye.